The afternoon sun dipped low over the suburbs of Denver, Colorado, painting long shadows across the cracked asphalt of the Horizon Credit Union parking lot. A crisp fall breeze swept through, tugging at a handful of dry leaves and sending them skittering past the row of weathered sedans. Inside the lobby, the air hung still stale with the faint tang of burnt coffee and the steady hum of an old printer chugging in the corner. It was a slow day, the kind where time seemed to crawl. An elderly man perched near the window, counting nickels into a plastic tray with trembling hands. A young mom rocked a stroller back and forth, her toddler gnawing on a pacifier. The place felt drowsy, almost too calm, like the world was holding its breath. Maya Jackson stepped through the glass doors, her sneakers scuffing softly against tiling floor. She wasn't here as the founder of Horizon Credit Union, not today. No sharp blazer, no clicking heels, no air of command. Instead, she wore a faded green hoodie, gray joggers, and a pair of worn-out running shoes that had logged more miles than she cared to count. Her dark brown skin caught the fluorescent glow, and her hair was pulled into a messy high ponytail, a few strands slipping free. To anyone watching, she was just another face in the crowd, ordinary, maybe even invisible. And that was exactly how she wanted it. She adjusted the strap of her beat-up canvas bag and scanned the room with a quick flick of her eyes. This branch wasn't new to her. She'd been here 3 years ago for the grand opening, shaking hands, posing for pictures, talking about trust and fairness. Horizon was her creation, forged from late nights and big dreams, a credit union built for the people banks forgot, the ones who didn't fit the glossy ads. But lately she'd caught wind of something off. Not headlines, not lawsuits, just quiet stories. A friend brushed off at a teller window, an old employee mentioning weird vibes at certain branches. She had shrugged it off at first. Every business had its bumps. But the doubts kept nagging, burrowing deeper until she couldn't shake them. So here she was, stripped of her title, just a woman with a simple plan. She needed to see it for herself, not through reports or memos, but from the other side of the counter. Maya slipped her hand into her pocket, brushing the edge of her ID. She'd keep it basic, withdraw $4,000 from her personal account. Nothing fancy, just enough to test the waters. Enough to see if this place still held the promise she'd poured into it. The lobby was thinning out now, the old man shuffling toward the exit with his tray of coins, the mom steering her stroller out the door. Maya's gaze settled on the teller stations. 2 were open, one with a young woman chatting up a customer, the other with a guy who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. She headed for the second one, her steps steady, quiet. The badge on his chest read Ryan Carter, and as she slid her withdrawal slip across the counter, his eyes flicked up to meet hers. No smile, no "how can I help you?" Just a quick, cold sweep from her hoodie to her shoes. That's when she felt a prickle at the back of her neck, a whisper of something off. She'd been here before, in moments like this. The look, the pause, the question hanging silent between them. She cleared her throat softly. "I'd like to withdraw $4,000, she said, her voice calm, even. Ryan gave a half nod, barely a twitch, and picked up the slip. He glanced at her ID, then back at her face, his fingers hovering over it like he wasn't sure what came next. Maya stood there, hands in her pockets, watching him. 10 minutes from now, she'd know if this place was still hers or if it had slipped through her fingers. Maya Jackson stood at the counter, her sneakers planted firm on the tile, hands tucked deep in her hoodie pockets. The lobby of Horizon Credit Union buzzed with a low, lazy hum, the printer's faint whine, the occasional rustle of paper, the soft echo of a toddler's coo fading as the mom rolled her stroller out the door. But Maya's world narrowed to Ryan Carter, the teller behind the counter. His badge glinted under the fluorescent lights, and his gelled hair caught a sheen as he tilted his head to study her withdrawal slip. He hadn't said a word since she'd handed it over, just picked it up, glanced at her ID, and let his eyes sweep over her. That look. Not curiosity, not confusion. Something colder, sharper. Like he'd already made up his mind. $4,000, she repeated, her voice steady, casual, like she was asking for change at a gas station. Ryan gave a half nod, barely a twitch, and set the slip down. His fingers lingered over her ID, clean, government-issued, no wear or tear. Maya watched him turn it over, then back again, like he was hunting for a flaw. A fake seal, a misspelled name, Anything to justify the way his jaw tightened just enough for her to catch it. He didn't touch his keyboard, didn't scan the card, didn't ask for her account number. Instead, he straightened up, his shoulders squaring like he'd come to some silent decision. "Hang on a sec," he muttered, so quiet she almost missed it. And then he was gone, slipping through the frosted glass door behind the counter, her ID and slip still in his grip. The door clicked shut, leaving Maya alone, with the hum of the lobby and a slow twist in her gut. She exhaled through her nose, shifting her weight to one hip. 5 minutes ticked by. She glanced at the clock above the teller station's 3:47 p.m., then let her eyes drift. A guy in a rumpled shirt had walked out with cash 10 minutes ago, no fuss. A girl at the next station got smiles and the smaller talk from Ryan while he counted her 20s. Easy. Quick. But not for her. Maya's fingers tapped a slow beat against the edge of the counter, her nails clicking on the faux marble. She wasn't shocked, not yet. She had felt this before, clerks trailing her in stores, teachers double-checking her work like she couldn't have earned it. Subtle stings, easy to brush off, hard to forget. She had built Horizon to kill that feeling, to make a place where people like her could walk in and just be. But standing here, waiting for Ryan to come back with her own ID, that old ache crept up her spine. Her gaze flicked to the ceiling, where a small security camera hummed quietly. She had fought for those last year, after a friend's story stuck with her too long. A quick rant over coffee about a teller downtown who'd lost her deposit slip, then smirked when she complained. Maya hadn't told anyone about the cameras, not even her board. Just set them up and let them roll, waiting for a reason to dig. Today might be that reason. The glass door swung open, and Ryan stepped back out, his sneakers squeaking faintly. He wasn't alone. A woman followed him, mid-40s, bobbed brown hair, glasses perched on her nose like she was about to scold someone. Her badge read Carla Bennett, branch manager. She held Maya's ID in one hand, the withdrawal slip in the other, and her smile was tight, forced, the kind you give a stranger you weren't sure about. Maya straightened, pulling her hands from her pockets. She didn't say a word, just watched as Carla stopped at the counter and set the papers down with a sharp tap. "Afternoon," Carla said, her voice smooth but clipped. "You're looking to withdraw $4,000? It sounded more like a challenge than a question. "Yeah," Maya said, nodding once. "That's right." Carla's eyes skimmed her hoodie, joggers, sneakers, then slid back to the ID. She picked it up again, holding it to the light like she was some amateur detective. Maya felt her jaw tick, but she kept her face blank. She'd handled worse than this. She could wait. "Mind if I ask a couple questions?" Carla said, lowering the ID but keeping it in her grip. Her tone was too polite, too slick, hiding something jagged underneath. "Go ahead," Maya replied, her voice calm, steady. She crossed her arms, leaning slightly against the counter. Whatever Carla was about to throw at her, she'd see it coming. She always did. Maya Jackson stood at the counter, arms crossed, the faint tap of her nails against her hoodie sleeve cutting through the stillness. The lobby of Horizon Credit Union felt tighter now, the air heavy, like it was pressing in from all sides. Ryan Carter lingered a step behind Carla Bennett, his gelled hair catching the light as he shifted, eyes darting between his manager and the woman he'd left waiting. Carla was a different story. She stood firm, Maya's ID pinched between her fingers, glasses glinting under the fluorescence, her bobbed brown hair framing a face set in sharp lines. Her smile was still there, tight and thin, but her eyes were busy scanning Maya like she was a problem to solve. "So, about that deposit?" Carla pressed again, her voice smooth but edged, like a blade wrapped in silk. She set the ID down with a soft clack, letting it sit there like a piece of evidence. "Just a rough number. Helps us verify." Maya didn't budge. She tilted her head, locking eyes with Carla. "I told you I don't carry that in my head. It's my account. You've got my ID, my signature, my number. Pull it up. That's what you're paid for." Carla's smile flickered, just a heartbeat, before snapping back. "Of course," she said, adjusting her glasses with a quick flick. "But for a withdrawal this size, $4,000, we've got protocols. Security's a priority here. You get that, right?" Maya let out a short, dry laugh, the sound bouncing off the tiles. "Security," she repeated. Slow and deliberate, right. Funny how security didn't matter 10 minutes ago. When that guy in the rumpled shirt walked out with 5 grand. No questions, no hoops. Just cash and a wave. The lobby wasn't empty anymore, not in spirit. A couple by the ATM lingered, pretending to mess with their cards, but stealing glances at the counter. The young teller next door had gone quiet, her chatter with a Broncos cap kid replaced by a nervous shuffle of papers. Ryan shifted, his sneakers squeaking faintly. But Carla didn't flinch. She clasped her hands, leaning forward just enough to close the space. Every transaction's different, she said, her tone clipped. Final. We've got to be thorough with certain cases. It's not personal. Not personal, Maya echoed, her eyes narrowing. She uncrossed her arms, planting her hands flat on the counter, fingers spreading against the cool surface. So what makes my case certain, Carla? What's the difference here? Carla paused, a quick flicker in her eyes, gone as fast as it came. Maya caught it, though, and it was all she needed. The manager straightened, smoothing her blazer with a sharp tug. It's just policy, she said, doubling down. For larger withdrawals, we need extra steps. Can't be too careful. Maya's lips pressed thin. She'd heard that song before, too many verses, too many voices. Stores, for clerks demanding receipts she didn't know. Bosses asking for one more proof of her work. Always the same tune, cloaked as caution. She leaned in, her voice dropping low but steady. Extra steps like what? I gave you my ID government issued, matches the account. What else you want? My birth certificate? A power bill with my name on it? Carla's smile slipped again, longer this time, and Ryan coughed into his fist, staring at the floor. That'd help, Carla said, her tone cooling fast. A second ID, maybe a bill. Standard for amounts like this. Standard, Maya said, her voice flat, cutting. For who? I watched you process that guy without blinking. Same day, same branch, bigger withdrawal. No bill, no nothing. So what's different about me, Carla? Say it. The air turned thick, charged. The couple by the ATM weren't pretending anymore, they watched. Heads tilted, whispers starting to hum. Carla's jaw tightened, her fingers curling briefly before flattening out. It's not about you, she said, her voice sharpening. It's about the rules. We protect our members. Protect them from what? Maya fired back, her patience fraying. From me? From my $4,000? I'm a member, been one since this place opened. You've got everything right there. She tapped the counter hard, next to her ID. So why am I still standing here? Carla didn't answer right away. Her eyes flicked to Ryan, then back to Maya, her lips parting like she was picking her next card. Then she played it wrong. Look, she said, her voice dropping to a hushed, brittle tone. If you can't provide what we need, we can't process this. Maybe come back with something else, proof you belong here. Maya froze, the words sinking in like cold steel. Proof you belong here. She'd built this place, built for it, fought for it, made it hers. And now this woman, this nobody in a blazer, was telling her she didn't fit. Her fingers curled into fists, nails biting her palms, but her face stayed calm, too calm, the kind that hides a storm. You're serious, she said, more fact than question. You want me to prove I belong in my own bank. Carla opened her mouth, but Maya cut her off with a raised hand. Don't, she said, her voice steel. Just pull up my account. You've got my name, my ID. Do it. For a second, it seemed Carla might relent. Their hand twitched toward the keyboard, her eyes darting to the screen. But then she dug in. She stepped back, folding her arms, and nodded at Ryan. If you can't cooperate, we'll need to escalate this, she said, her tone flat. Final. Security can step in if there's a problem. Maya's breath hitched, quick and sharp. She heard the squeak of boots before she saw him, a broad-shouldered guard in a Navy uniform emerging from a side door, his hand near his radio. The lobby went dead quiet, every eye snapping to the counter. Ryan flinched, Carla stood stiff, and the guard stopped a few feet off, his face blank but ready. Maya didn't move. She didn't shout. She just looked at Carla, then the guard, a slow, bitter smile tugging at her lips. You're really doing this, she said, soft but clear. Calling security on me for asking for my own money. Carla's face didn't shift, but her hands tightened around her arms. We just want to keep things smooth, she said, clipped and practiced. For everyone. Maya nodded once, like she was tucking that away. The heat in her chest flared, the anger shed held back, clawing up her throat. This wasn't a test anymore. It was a line in the sand, and she wasn't stepping back. Maya Jackson stood rooted to the counter, her hands pressed against the cool marble, anchoring her as the Horizon Credit Union lobby crackled with tension. The security guard loomed a few feet away, his navy uniform a dark blot against the pale walls, his hand hovering near his radio like he was waiting for the word. Ryan Carter shrank back behind the counter, his gelled hair catching the light as he avoided her gaze, looking smaller by the second. Carla Bennett held firm arms folded, glasses glinting, her tight smile now a brittle thread ready to snap. The silence stretched, thick and electric, every eye in the room glued to the standoff. The customers by the ATM had dropped their act, the woman in the red coat clutched her purse, whispering to the man beside her, who stared wide-eyed. Maya felt their attention, but it didn't matter. This was between her and the people who just crossed a line they couldn't uncross. She took a slow breath, her voice slicing through the quiet. "Let me get this straight, Carla," she said low and sharp. "I've got my ID, my account number, everything you need. I am asking for my money, $4,000, not a fortune. And instead of doing your job, you're calling security on me." "Why?" Carla's jaw clenched, her fingers digging in her arms. "We're keeping things smooth," she said, her voice clipped, rehearsed. "If you can't follow our verification process, we've got no choice." "Follow?" Maya's laugh was short, bitter, ringing off the tiles. "I gave you everything. You're the one stalling. So what's the real problem? What's stopping you?" For a moment, Carla didn't move. Her eyes flicked to the guard, then to Ryan, then back to Maya, like she was weighing her odds. Maya saw the crack forming, the mask slipping. She had seen it before in 100 different faces when politeness gave way to truth. And then it came. Carla leaned in, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper, meant for Maya but loud enough to carry. "Look, we don't serve people like you here, okay? Take your money somewhere else." The words landed like a punch raw, ugly, tearing through every shred of fake civility she'd clung to. The lobby froze. The woman in the red coat gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. The man next to her muttered a stunned, "What the hell?" Ryan flinched, his head jerking up like he'd been slapped. The guard shifted, his boots scuffing the floor, his blank face cracking into unease. But Maya didn't blink. She didn't move. She just stood there, letting the words echo, letting them seep into every corner. "People like me," she repeated, her voice steady, almost too calm. She tilted her head, pinning Carla with her gaze. "Say that again." "What do you mean, people like me?" Carla's face drained white, her lips parting as the weight of her slip crashed down. She'd lost it just for a second, and there was no reeling it back. "Tu didn't mean it like that," she stammered, her hands dropping limp. "It's just no," Maya cut her off, her voice hard as steel. "You meant it exactly like that. You looked at me, my clothes, my skin, and decided I don't belong. That's what you said, right? We don't serve people like you." The room was a vacuum, no whispers. No rustling, just the printer's faint hum. Carla's hands shook, her glasses slipping down her nose as she scrambled for control. "That's not what she started, but Maya wasn't letting her off. She reached into her bag, slow and steady, pulling out her phone. Carla stiffened, the guard's hand twitched, but Maya didn't pause. She hit record, angling the screen to catch Carla's face, Ryan's nervous shuffle, the guard's awkward stance. "I want this on the record," she said, clear and unshaken. "You're refusing me my own money with a valid ID, while others walk out no problem. You've called security on me for asking a question. And now you're saying you don't serve people like me. Let's make sure that's crystal clear." Carla's eyes flashed with panic, her control unraveling as the room closed in. She lunged forward, her hand swiping for the phone, but Maya stepped back, holding it steady, her gaze never wavering. "Don't," she warned, low and lethal. "You've already dug yourself deep enough." Carla froze, her arm hovering, then fell back, her face a mess of fear and fury. "You're making a scene," she hissed, her voice trembling. "This isn't necessary." Maya's lips curved into a slow, cold smile. "Oh, it's necessary," she said, "because you don't know who you're dealing with." She paused, letting the words sink in, watching Carla's throat bob as she swallowed hard. "Let me introduce myself properly. She reached forward, snatching her ID from the counter with a flick of her wrist, flipping it between her fingers. "My name's Maya Jackson," she said, her voice rising to carry through the lobby. "Founder and CEO of Horizon Credit Union. I signed off on this branch. I wrote the policies you're trashing. I pay your salary." The silence shattered. The woman in the red coat dropped her purse, the thud bouncing off the walls. Ryan's mouth fell open, his face going gray. The guard took a step back, his hand dropping limp. Carla blinked, her lips moving soundlessly as the truth hit her like a brick. Maya leaned in, her voice dropping deadly calm. "And here's the kicker, Carla. I've had hidden cameras running in this branch for a year since I heard stories about people getting turned away for no reason. Everything you just said, the looks, the questions, that we don't serve people like you, Jim. It's all on tape. Not just here," she waved her phone, "but on the company server. You're done." Carla's knees wobbled, her hands clutching the counter. Her glasses slid further, her breath ragged. Ryan looked like he wanted to vanish, his hands gripping his station. The guard muttered a quiet, "Oh, shit," and turned away, like he could unsee it all. Maya straightened, slipping her phone back into her bag. She looked at Carla, then the guard, then the customers staring from the sidelines. "You picked the wrong person to mess with," she said, her voice steady, final. "And now you're going to find out what I'm ways." The lobby of Horizon Credit Union was a pressure cooker now, the tension so thick it pressed against the walls. Maya Jackson stood tall at the counter, her green hoodie a defiant splash against the sterile grays, her dark eyes boring into Carla Bennett. The branch manager gripped the counter like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Her glasses crooked, her bobbed hair limp against her flushed face. Ryan Carter was a shadow behind her, pale and shrinking, his hands clamped to the teller station like he might collapse without it. The security guard, big, broad, navy-clad, had edged back, his shoulders slumping as he stared at the floor, radio dangling useless at his side. The customers by the ATM stood frozen, the woman in the red coat clutching her purse, the man beside her rigid mid-breath. No one dared move. They all knew something had snapped, and the pieces were still falling. Maya let the silence hang, her ID tapping a slow rhythm against her palm, watching Carla's face twist as the truth sank deeper. The manager's mouth opened, closed, then opened again, her voice a ragged whisper. "Ms. Jackson," she croaked. "Two didn't know. I swear this was just—" "Stop," Maya said, her voice cracking through like a gunshot, slicing the stammering dead. She stepped closer, her sneakers silent on the tile, her gaze unrelenting. "Don't pull that card. You didn't know who I was, fine. But you knew damn well what you were doing when you said, 'We don't serve people like you.' You saw me, my hoodie, my skin, and decided I didn't belong. That's not a slip, Carla, that's you." Carla flinched, her hands trembling as she shoved her glasses back up her nose. It came out wrong," she said, her voice breaking, desperate. "I didn't mean it like that. I was just frustrated." "I frustrated?" Maya's laugh was cold, cutting, echoing off the walls. "Because I wouldn't play your game? Because I asked for my own money? No, Carla, you meant every syllable. You're just mad you got caught." The woman in the red coat shifted, her purse slipping to the floor with a soft thud. The sound jolted Ryan, who jerked upright, his eyes pleading with Carla to fix this. But Carla was crumbling, her face ashen, her breath short and jagged. Maya didn't ease up. She turned her head, pinning Ryan with the same fierce stare. "And you," she said, her voice dropping, deadly. "You kicked this off, took one look at me, decided I didn't add up, and ran to her instead of doing your job. Why? Was it the clothes, the voice, or just my skin?" Ryan's mouth opened, but no sound came. His hands fumbled with the counter, knuckles white. "Two was just following protocol," he mumbled, barely audible. "I didn't protocol," Maya snapped, her tone sharp with scorn. "You had my ID, you had my account. You didn't need to follow anything, you chose to doubt me. And don't say it's not personal, it's real personal when it only happens to people who look like me." The guard coughed, a low, uneasy rumble, and Maya's eyes flicked to him. He was big, 6 foot something, solid, but he looked small now, his boots scuffing the tile. "You," she said, firm but steady. "They called you to do what? Haul me out? Scare me off? What was the move? The guard's throat bobbed as he swallowed. Mom, he said, rough and hesitant. I was just doing what they said. I didn't know. You didn't ask, Maya said, cutting him off. You saw me not yelling, not fighting, just asking for my money, and you still walked over like I was trouble. Next time, figure out who you're protecting and why. Because this, she waved at the trio Carla, Ryan, the guard. This isn't safety. It's spineless. The lobby felt like a held breath, the printers hum a faint pulse in the void. Carla's hands shook as she gripped the counter, her eyes darting to the customers, then back to Maya, searching for a way out. Ms. Jackson, she tried again, her voice cracking. I'm sorry, I can process your withdrawal now. Well, fix this. I swear, Maya raised a hand, silencing her. No, she said, her voice like stone. You don't get to backtrack now. You don't get to fake an apology and hand me cash like that erases what you did. You said it, you meant it, and I'm not letting it go. She reached into her bag, pulling out a sleek black business card. She slid it across the counter, the glossy finish catching the light. Here's what's happening, she said, calm and final. You're calling my office, Carla. You're setting up a meeting with the board, and you're explaining every step why this happened today. Why you thought you could treat me like I didn't belong in my own bank. Carla's fingers hovered, then grabbed the card, her nails scraping the marble. Of course, she said, her voice barely holding. I'll call right away. Maya nodded, then turned to the lobby, her eyes sweeping the customers who'd seen it all. Her voice rose, clear and strong, filling the space. This isn't just about me, she said. I built Horizon for every one of you. Not just the people who look right, not just the ones who fit some picture. If this can happen to me, the woman who started this place, what is happening to you? The ones who don't have a title to shove back in their faces? The woman in the red coat nodded slowly, her eyes wide. The man next to her clenched his jaw, tense. Maya took a breath, her hands steady, the anger still there, but forged into something bigger. This stops today, she said, her voice ringing out. I'm not standing by while my bank, my dream, turns into a place where people get judged by their skin or their clothes or anything else. There's going to be changes, real ones, because if I don't fight for that, who will? Carla's head dropped, her shoulders caving. Ryan stared at the floor, his breath shallow. The guard muttered a quiet, yes, ma'am, and stepped back, hands clasped tight. Maya gave them one last look, then turned for the door, her sneakers silent on the tile. She wasn't done, not by a mile. This wasn't over until she made sure it couldn't happen again. Maya Jackson shoved through the glass doors of Horizon Credit Union, the sharp fall air hitting her like a jolt of reality. She didn't glance back, not at Carla Bennett clutching that business card like it was her last lifeline, not at Ryan Carter fading into the counter, not at the security guard rooted by the wall. The doors hissed shut, swallowing the lobby silence, but she could still feel the weight of every stare, every hushed word. Shed lit a fuse in there, and the explosion was coming. Her sneakers crunched on the parking lot gravel as she strode to her battered Toyota. Mom, blah. The green hoodie swaying with each step. The anger wasn't shaking her anymore. It had settled, deep and steady, a fire shed wheel from here on out. By sunrise, things were moving. Carla called Maya's office at dawn, her voice a jittery wreck on the line, pleading for a chance to explain. Maya didn't pick up. She didn't need more lies. She was in her downtown office by 7 a.m., a steaming black coffee on her desk, her laptop open to the branch's hidden camera feed. She replayed it. Ryan's stiff pause, Carla's smug verification dance, that venomous, we don't serve people like you, spitting out like a dare. Every frame was a weapon, and she wasn't letting it sit idle. She summoned the Horizon board by noon. The conference room was packed suits, stern faces, a few nervous ticks. Maya didn't sit. She stood at the table's head, hoodie swapped for a crisp blazer, her fire undimmed. She played the footage raw, unfiltered, the audio crackling through the speakers. When Carla's voice hit that line, the room went rigid. A board member coughed. Another shifted hard in his chair. Maya let it hang, then leaned in, hands braced on the table. This is my bank, she said, her voice low, unshaken. I built it for people who've been told they don't count, people like me. Yesterday I walked in and got that same line. If that's happening under my roof, we've failed. All of us. The hammer dropped fast. Carla was out by day's end fired. No payout, no mercy. Ryan got shoved to a back office gig after a formal write-up. His teller days done. The guard stayed, but with a warning and training on the books. Maya didn't stop there. She hauled every branch manager into a late-night video call, her face sharp on their screens. "This isn't a fluke," she said. "It's a signal. If it's in Denver, it's everywhere. And I'm not waiting for proof." Within a week, Horizon shifted gear shard. She rammed through a policy, bias training for every employee, top to bottom, no skips. Cameras went up in every branch up and now, not hidden, a loud message that eyes were on. She rolled out Horizon Voice and app for customers to flag anything wrong. From a snide teller to a denied withdrawal, straight to her desk. A 24/7 hotline followed, staffed by people trained to hear, not dodge. Reports trickled in. A mom hassled over suspicious cash. An old guy grilled over a faded ID. Maya read each one, her jaw tight, her resolve stealing. The change hit quick. Customers felt it. Tellers eased up. Lines moved smoother. That woman in the red coat came back a month later, left a note. "Feels right now. Thanks." Horizon didn't just bounce back, it grew. People buzzed about it on X, in diners, at gas stations. A credit union that fought for fair? That stuck. Maya didn't let it swell her head. She stood outside the Denver branch one gray afternoon, weeks later, the wind biting at her coat. The Horizon Credit Union sign glowed against the dusk, steady and proud. She saw Carla sneer in her mind, heard the guard's boots squeak, felt the woman in the red coat's wide-eyed stare like she'd watched a spark ignite. This wasn't about that day anymore. It was about what it sparked. She turned, imagining a camera catching this, and spoke, her voice fierce, steady. "This isn't just my fight, it's yours. If you've ever been sized up like you don't matter, like your money, your time, your existence isn't worth squat and eat it, call it out. Demand better. Here's the deal. Nothing moves unless you move it. I did it here," she nodded at the building, "and you can do it where you stand. Don't let them decide who belongs. Take it." She slipped her hands into her pockets, her breath fogging in the chill. "No one gets turned away," she said, softer, almost to herself. Then she walked off, her shadow stretching long across the lot. A woman who turned their mistake into something they'd never forget. What's the takeaway here? Maya Jackson's story isn't just about one woman owning a bank, it's about fighting back when the world tries to shove you out. She turned their bias into a mirror, forcing them to face it, and didn't stop until the system bent. The lesson? You don't have to be a CEO to demand what's yours. If you've ever felt that sting, the look, the doubt, the you don't belong, don't swallow it. Call it out. Push back. Change doesn't wait for permission. It starts when you say enough. So what about you? Got a story like this? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. And if this hit you hard, smash that like button and subscribe. We've got more real talk coming your way. Don't miss it. Take your seat at the table, folks. It's yours.